Gravity Rush 2 is easily the most underrated game of 2017. It's quite a shame really, as it's actually a great game. It could possibly be because the original was released on a handheld that didn't sell too well due to the lack of AAA titles released for the Vita. Gravity Rush was left alone in the dark like any other Vita game. The original Gravity Rush might be among one of the best games on the Vita, but there was much to be desired. Thankfully, Gravity Rush 2 is an improvement over the original in every way. The original might have started off strong, but it ended with more questions than answers. Gravity Rush 2, on the other hand, fills in those gaps, while telling a new story. Just like its predecessor, the core mechanic of the game is the player's ability to manipulate gravity, but unlike its predecessor, we're able to choose among 3 gravity styles. The original style from the first game, as well as the lunar and Jupiter styles. While using lunar, gravity is weaker, making Kat's movements more floaty, all the more while increasing her speed and her ability to jump higher. In combat, basic attacks are performed by pressing square. While using lunar, attacks track moving enemies automatically. Additionally, lunar has its own style of the status field known as vortex fields, which freezes enemies, allowing players to perform follow-up attacks without them being able to evade. Last but not least, lunar features its own special attack called the Gravity Typhoon, which launches projectiles at any nearby enemies. Gravity is much stronger while using lunar on the other hand, as it gives Kat's attacks more impact. The surge kick, for example, creates a massive shockwave that'll destroy almost any enemy it touches. Same goes for the debris ball, which is a bunch of projectiles compressed together into a massive ball of debris. And just like lunar, Jupiter has its own special ability called the micro black hole, which creates a black hole around Kat, destroying every enemy within the area. But unlike lunar, Jupiter makes gravity sliding much faster, all the more while wiping out any enemies upon impact. Speaking of enemies, players will often find themselves fighting enemies in various environments. These enemies range from the Nevi that appeared in the first game, and some human soldiers. Nevi come in many different shapes and sizes, and have different compatibilities. In general, each type of Nevi has a weakness that can be exploited. Human soldiers, on the other hand, operate combat mechs, which, just like Nevi, have a weak spot that can be exploited. Even though there's a huge array of powers at your disposal, you'll typically rely on Kat's kicking abilities. While in mid-air, it's required to target an enemy's weak spot in order to inflict damage. A built-in aim assist has been added to make things a little easier. Fighting in mid-air feels a lot like it did in the first game. Fun yet unusual, and while it's easy to look past the temperamental issues you'll face with the camera, there's no denying that it can be fairly wonky in tight spaces. After the appearance of a mysterious gravity storm, Kat and her friend Sid are whisked away to a mining camp, and with her feline guardian Dusty nowhere to be found, Kat's unable to use her powers. Provided that Kat's powers are gone, this section can feel fairly bleak. Thankfully, it doesn't last too long. If anything, it helps set up the new cast of characters and a new conflict for Kat and her friends to scuffle with. Although the game continues months after the conclusion of the original, you spend a majority of the game exploring new locations before reconnecting with Kat's past. Once you finish Chapter 1, you're brought to a divided society, where the rich live in peace and prosperity, while the poor live in turmoil and adversity. As you work to bridge the gap between the two classes, you realize the poor are more like a band of Robin Hoods, and aren't nearly as bad as the rich make them out to be. The rich, on the other hand, are as greedy as you can imagine. While the portrayal of these topics aren't groundbreaking, they certainly add a sense of relatability to the world. The game world opens up rather quickly starting from Chapter 2. With over 20 episodes and a numerous amount of side missions, boredom is never an issue. As the open world craze continues to grow in popularity, side missions give players something to do aside from admiring the view. However, some games tend to rely so heavily on cookie-cutter side missions. Gravity Rush 2, on the other hand, manages to subvert this problem, which is rather odd as it doesn't have a complex control scheme, yet it manages to ensure that you'll never know what you're gonna get with each side mission. There is a ton of variety to be found in each side mission. While there are a few that can be fairly annoying, a majority of them are fun and different. Not only do these gameplay loops vary among side missions, but they also do something to flesh out the world a little more and make it feel more alive. The only missions that wear thin are those that have you infiltrating a soldier-filled base. While they're not challenging, it's worth noting that if you're spotted, you're instantly kicked back to the last checkpoint. As a result, these stealth missions feel rather dull and aren't as enjoyable as others. Starting from Chapter 2, you're free to explore any way you see fit. You should strive to fly whenever possible, as Gravity Rush 2 is simply gorgeous, capitalizing on the first game's visuals with a wider range of colors and character. If you see something you don't want to forget, be sure to take advantage of Gravity Rush 2's photo mode. Even if you don't care about taking pictures, the photo mode is still important, as it plays a prominent role in these optional yet fun online events known as treasure hunts. At any given moment, notifications pop up indicating a nearby treasure hunt. Accepting the challenge teleports you to a specific point on the map, in which you're required to examine a photo that another player took and use environmental clues in order to pinpoint its location. It's a nice diversion that'll test both your observation and navigation skills. You can also take your own photo as a hint for other players. It can be as challenging or as goofy as you want it to be, and you even get a reward if you successfully help someone find the treasure. After hours of exploring new locations and putting up with suspicious people who you'll tirelessly save time and time again, Gravity Rush 2 concludes its tale before revisiting Cat's past. While you'll have to do a little detective work in order to get to the final act, Gravity Rush 2's final act culminates in a satisfying yet bittersweet ending that ties up Cat's story quite nicely. Gravity Rush 2 is easily one of the best sequels ever made. While the camera can be a bit of a nuisance at times and the stealth missions can be fairly irritating from time to time, it excels in every other aspect. What more could we ask for in a sequel than an adventure not only better than its predecessor, but one truly worthy of its excellent lead character? Videos like this are made possible by viewers like you. If you like what you see, be sure to subscribe for more.